Welcome to Season 4 of the Knack for Business podcast.
Before we jump in, today's show is brought to you by Notion Hive. Here's the thing they say that I like: no fluff, no guesswork, just results. They're a full-service digital agency with North American roots and a global team: web, SEO, branding, marketing, even AI solutions. If your digital side needs a serious upgrade, they're worth a look. Link is in the show notes.
So, from the audience perspective, how do you finally build stable, profitable growth instead of chasing revenue that never seems to stick? That's exactly what our guest will be talking about. How to stop the constant scramble for more sales and start fixing the margin leaks that quietly drain your business. He'll walk us through profit first growth, simple diagnostic tools, and how small businesses can build predictable, sustainable revenue without complexity. Stick around if you want clearer margins, stronger systems, and growth you can actually trust to last. Our guest today is Paulo Knabben from Lucro. He's the founder of Lucro, a growth agency that helped more than over 150 companies worldwide to build predictable, profitable revenue. Drawing on his unique path from being a pharmacist to an MBA-trained growth strategist, he brings diagnostic precision to business, spotting margin leaks, simplifying funnels, and creating systems that scale sustainably. Known for a straight-to-the-point approach, Paulo lives by a simple mantra: we don't scale ads, we scale margins. Oh, absolute pleasure having you here today. Welcome.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm very excited for today's talk.
Do you have a favorite quote or saying?
Well, my favorite quote I was saying is the one I used there. We don't scale ads, we scale margins. I'm very proud of this, because I have another one that says about metrics, but this tag we use for our brand is related to every business owner. If our eyes are focused on what really matters to our business, for it to survive, which is margins, which is profit, then it will thrive. But of course, the process to get in there are delicate, so you have to do it strategically, and that's how we work here in Lucro.
So, on your origin story, you became a professional, you became a pharmacist, got to wear a white jacket, life's good. Then you decided it wasn't for you. Tell me that story.
Yeah, that's funny, isn't it? Because it seems that nothing as being a pharmacist. How come now you're working with marketing? But I started back. My first job was a pharmacy. I was 19 years old, and because that was the job I could find back then. And then I didn't know at the time, but what I really loved was to be in contact with people. Being, working in pharmacy, you have to meet different people all day long, like hundreds of people working there. And the time went on, I was very young and immature, but I loved being in contact with people. And I went to pharmacy as a college degree as a consequence, because I wanted to have this, growth path in the company I was working to. But when I was there, I was realizing the reality of becoming a pharmacist. But I thought, well, I'll get through it. I'll finish my degree and see what happens. And after that, then the things started to change, because the reality as a pharmacist it's a completely different experience than it was when I was just working for the pharmacy as a cashier. As the time went by, I was realizing that it was actually not for me, because although I had this contact with people and I really liked connecting the dots with diagnostics and prescriptions and everything else, I can explain differently than saying that my heart wasn't there. Actually, didn't make my heart beat faster or anything like that. And I always had this desire of having my own business, but I didn't know back then what business should I have, because working as a pharmacist, I was trained to be there with people in diagnostics and prescriptions. And then I went to this MBA course on business management to learn more about businesses, because I thought, well, if I am going to have a business sometime, I should learn how to, manage it. So let's learn how to do it. And there the things started to change, because at the first course we had, the first month, I met this professor. He was teaching us business strategy. His name is Cluton. And we had this task of creating a startup during the course. And my group, we created something there. It wasn't as anything special. It was just an exercise. But the way I was talking about that, I got, for me, as a pharmacist, being in a room with other students talking about business management was so exciting. I felt I belonged there. This is right for me. I should be here, you know? And I think this kind of energy connects people. Then the professor saw that by the end of that course, he mailed me saying, "Hey, we should meet and maybe we could build something together based on that idea you had with your group. Let's talk more about that." Then, we scheduled this lunch. We met and we were talking about that. And he said, "Hey, I, let's build something together. We should be partners, and let's see how it goes." So it turns out that he was my first mentor on building courses, and he was a marketing specialist. So everything from marketing, finances, logistics, because we were building an industry, cosmetic industry, very expensive kind of business. With the knowledge I have today, I would never do that again. It seemed to be logical back at the time, but it took a lot of effort. We worked together for 3 years building that startup, and I learned a lot about dealing with business owners and how to handle low resources to generate some kind of result. Because as a startup business owner, you don't have a lot of resources, to rely on. You have your partner, maybe a couple bucks there in your bank account, and some help you can use from other people. And after 3 years, we decided not we decided to discontinue the business, but the experience remained in me. And that was the moment I decided, I should not be in pharmacy anymore. The thing I want for myself is building some kind of business. Came the questions, what should I do? And that question was always with me. And as I was working as a pharmacist, by the time I was training other pharmacists, about prescriptions and everything, just by remembering it, it gave me some kind of anxiety, because I remember the feeling of being there doing something that I knew that was not me anymore, and the desire of having something mine. But I decided to study a little more. Then I got into contact with digital marketing. It was 2018, and digital marketing was starting to have this fame online, with people talking more about that. And I was, of course, buying online courses and trying to figure out why people were creating courses and selling online. It probably was a kind of business. I was trying to reverse engineer the process they were doing. And sometime in late 2019, I had this idea of creating my own course with my wife to help moms during the phase that their babies are starting to have their first meals. It's called a solid introduction. My wife, she's a nutritionist. Yeah, yeah. And our daughter was 6 months old back then, by that time. And my wife couldn't stop talking about that. A solid introduction. First you give a banana, then you smash potato or something else like that. All those process to make this happen healthy for the baby and safely. And then I proposed to her. I told her, "Hey, let's build a course. You're going to be the star of the show, and I'll be at the backstage. I'll do everything, and you just have to show up and teach other moms on how to do all these things you're talking to me about." And she agreed. And then I started learning about how to edit videos, how to build landing pages, how to create a copy for a landing page for email marketing, how to run ads, all those things. And everything I looked into was giving me, this kind of new experience, opening a new universe for me, because I didn't know anything about that. And everything excited me so much that I thought, hey, I'm in the right place right now. This is it. I finally found myself. But it took a lot of effort, and to pay for the bills. This is interesting. Everything that's happening that I'm saying right now about creating our course, I was still working as a pharmacist, and I had to find another job as a pharmacist at night shift to pay the bills, because I've invested so much to build the courses and to learn everything that I had to do. I spent a lot of money. I had to make more money, and I wasn't selling anything yet. So at night shift, I had this, 1 hour window. I could sleep if I want to, or eat, or do something else. I was there studying, watching classes online to learn more about digital marketing and how to implement things to help us sell more courses. And during the day shift, Of course, I had, a few hours of sleep during the morning. Then I went to this other pharmacy. I was there working the way I could. And at lunch break, I was there studying again. And then when we had everything put together, we started selling. We made about 100 sales with that course about a solid introduction. And that was the time the first time I woke up in the morning once and I saw that we had three new students, but 99 reais. The thought was, well, this actually works. And if me being a pharmacist, coming from another industry, I learned about this. And then I can replicate it, get specialized on it, and maybe turn this into a business. But it turns out that my wife, she didn't want to go on with the course because she said, well, look, I'm a bit tired of producing content about this. I don't feel the same way you're feeling about this. Let's just deliver the course to the students that purchased, and I'll leave, and then you decide what to do. Well, of course, I agreed. She's my wife. I have to agree, right?
You can always get a new wife.
I don't think that's going to work out, man. He says that to his wife all the time, and it doesn't work out so good.
I'm very obedient. So I said, okay, let's do this, and I'll try to figure out something else. And then I was starting to connect the dots. Well, all right, I won't be a pharmacist anymore, but I still have MBA course. I started a few years ago, I learned a lot, and I have all those courses about digital marketing and everything. So I should create a resume and see if any digital marketing agency here in my city would hire me. Maybe that works. And it turns out that I sent out about, I don't know, maybe 10 resumes to 10 different companies. 6 of them invited me to an interview. 3 of them invited me to actually work for them. And then I chose the smallest one that I have different kind of clients with different niches. But there was one thing that I had to have in mind. It was the proposal was to pay me half of what I was receiving as a pharmacist back then. And back then I had 2 daughters, a wife, and to pay and everything. Without a blink, I just said, "All right, let's do this," because I knew that the amount of money they were paying me wouldn't matter so much as the experience I would have working for them full time as a paid traffic manager, working with growth marketing. Because when I decided to send my resume to these companies, I knew that that was the specific area of digital marketing I was willing to work with. And I said, all right, let's begin. And then it was March 2020, and I started working with them. And that was the first move into the way I shifted. I left pharmacy behind and started working with them. And I told myself one thing though: this is the last time I will work as an employee. Last time. I'll gather the experience I have to have. I will over deliver here. I'll be the best employee there is in this agency. I'll be reliable and deliver results, but with a timeline. I'll leave after a few months. Of course, they didn't know that by then, but it was in my mind. That was the plan. And well, then came pandemics. It was March 2020. They allowed us to work at home. So it was actually a good thing for me because my computer was better than their computer. So my productivity was I was very much, productive. And after a month working with them, I was, just browsing on LinkedIn, connecting to people and, LinkedIn things you do online. And then I found this marketing consultant. Her name is Aline. Just connected with her. Then out of the nowhere, she just sent me an inbox asking me a simple question. She said, Paulo, I see that you work with paid traffic. What would you do to help startups? That was it. That was the question. Well, me being me, I thought I'll give her the best answer she'll ever find on LinkedIn because this is a chance for something. I don't know what, but if she's sending me this question, she's probably asking the same question for different people. I have to be the best one. And I made it because we didn't have ChatGPT back then. You actually have to put a thought on it. So I thought about that and I created the whole framework and the structure. I actually gave everything she had to do. If she wanted to just copy that and implement herself, she could have done it, but she chose not to do it. She said, "All right, great answer. Let's get together and for a call and so we can meet and decide if we can do something together." It was working for this digital marketing agency for just 30 days. And then we met, and the conversation was very good, actually. She's a very warm person, very kind. And she said, Paulo, look, I have 30 clients here I can refer to you. They need your service. Here's the thing. Let's just start with the first client. If you can deliver and if they're happy, then I'll refer another one to you to see if you can handle, and then things can move on slowly, but like that. What do you think? I said, sure, thank you. Let's do this. And then I came to this client with the same approach. I will over deliver. I will not charge much because I'm just getting started. The amount they're paying me, I'll deliver twice or even three times the work, the quality of work they will receive. I'll do my best here. And I did that while working for the agency. So I had to work extra hours after I finished my shift. Then I started to work for this client, and it worked. So this first client referred me another client, and then Aline referred me another client, and then the second client came with another client. So by the end of the November 2020, I had so many clients to deal after hours, after my shift, that I had to leave the agency. I just came to them, say, hey, thank you very much. I'm very grateful for everything you did for me, but it's time for me to leave. And then that was it. I stood with them for another 30 days so they could organize themselves there. And by the end of 2020, I was managing maybe 15 accounts, 15 different clients of my own. And then started 2021, I was, all by myself. Then the business actually was gaining momentum, and I didn't have, I wasn't an employee anymore. And from that moment to up to today, it's over 150 companies we served. And Lucro was born during that process.
So about 30 or 40 years ago, if you read the business papers, all it was about scaling revenue, scaling. Look at the revenue. We need revenue. And no one ever talked about profit.
Yes.
And then we had these impressive billion-dollar bankruptcies, and everyone was surprised.
Mhm.
How have we broken that cycle, or can we break that cycle? And how do we put margins back into the puzzle?
That's a $1 trillion answer you're looking for. It depends, because with my experience, small business owners, which is most of our clients are small business and medium business. It's a completely different reality for big businesses. Big businesses, they need a large amount of money to invest and do whatever. But small businesses, I believe that they need to focus on margins, to depend less on banks, to have more money on their bank account, to pay more their employees, give them bonuses and pay better, have a better salary, to pay themselves better, and to invest in their businesses. But you have to do it in an honest way. Like, if you work with services, you have to have a great service that you can charge a fair amount of money, so you can have a healthy profit. But of course, in order to achieve that, you have to have the right processes to make the sales. And that's where we come in, to help our clients to decide what to sell, sometimes even suggesting price change so they can sell more, or even have even more sales sometimes, but with the right pricing. Sometimes it's not correct, and have the right margins, but investing a certain amount that will sure come back to them. So it's a pretty complex, but the simple answer is is trying to figure out the best processes to make the right sale to the right client for the right price that is healthy for your business.
So what's a good margin then to have? Is it like, and the reason I ask this, sometimes like in the food industry, if you're running say a donut shop here in North America, the margin is tight with the donut, the actual pastry. But the coffee,
Mhm.
it's wide. Where it's maybe $2 for the coffee, and it may have only cost 30 cents to put it out there, versus the pastry, it might be worth $3. How do you find that margin?
Sweet
What
spot.
is a good margin? Is it industry specific? Is it kind of a mixed bag if you have several SKUs? Where do you start out? Even if you only have one SKU, one product, let's say it's a coaching course. Your first course that you launched with your wife, how do you figure what's a good margin?
When we launched the course, I didn't have any idea about what the margin would be. I just wanted to sell it, and then I would figure out what was a healthy margin for us. But it is related. As you mentioned, if you have a coffee shop, the margins can vary depending on what you're selling, but the average will be about, I don't know, maybe if you're lucky, 15% at the end, 20 if you're lucky. But if you have an industry and you're selling products, your margin can be about 3%, 5%. But if you sell coaching courses or any service related, you know, uh, business can have a different kind of margin. For example, I think that every marketing agency, for example, should aim for 70%. So you can have this healthy margin to reinvest in your business and ads and everything. Coaching businesses, pretty much the same thing. They can achieve even more because they're the ones delivering the service, right? They not every coach have, I don't know, maybe other coach working for them or anything like that. But I think that for services, it's 70%. And if you sell products, it depends. We have clients that have one of our clients have a very strong margin here, a very strong profit, and his margin is 30% selling online on his e-commerce store. But it varies. But you have to look at your industry, find the healthy margin the average companies have, and then aim for a bit higher than that, just to work harder to have a stronger margin.
Is margin net profit?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much the same. So margin is the percentage related to your net profit, but it's pretty much I tend to use it as the same thing, but it's just to simplify, but it's net profit I'm talking about.
So in traditional modeling, there's often a distributor involved, and then you have to have two levels of margin, and you can't get the price above retail, obviously. How do you work in a distributor and still preserve a margin?
That's usually, from my experience, the distributor, he is the intermediate, and he actually has the best margin than the industry and then the retailer. So in order for him to preserve it, well, he has to make sure that he's making the right purchase for the right pricing. So he has to negotiate within the industry to sell it correctly for the right price. Usually, if you buy, if you have a good buying process, then you'll have a better margin. But if you buy during, I don't know, maybe to import some product from China right now isn't the best choice for you, and you bought a full, cargo of your products from China. You made the wrong choice. Now it will decrease your margin. So the secret for me, as for distributors, the secret to have more profit is buying the right product at the right time at the right price.
So if a company is doing really well, let's say they get part of their supply chain from overseas, China, wherever, and it sells well. Even if you look at your courses, let's say the courses were taking off and people wanted more of it, and your wife was willing to produce more content with you. All of a sudden, if it starts to explode, you're scaling up. How does margin factor into that? Because you gotta cycle money back into the business to handle increased capacity. Whether if you're a manufacturer, you might need more factory space. You might need more staff. How do you juggle that? It's almost like a shifting number now. You're making margin. Are you making enough margin? All of a sudden, someone says, "You know what? I'm a local retailer and I want 100,000 units. You've sold me 1,000. Now I want to go 100,000, and I want to go boom and bang." How do you manage that margin? Then how do you fit it best? Because now you're getting volume and you're getting quantity. The quantity's gone up. How do you manage it?
But that's very complex actually, because so many variables. And when we're talking about scaling like that, it's inevitably you're going to have more costs. So when I look, for example, talking more about my company, when I want to scale, I have to measure the cost for scaling and project my margin and my pricing. So maybe I have to adjust my pricing accordingly, but not so much that I can't make a sale, so I can preserve my margin. But sometimes you're going to you'll need to squeeze your margin a little bit so you can scale, and then you decide what to do. Maybe cutting costs, maybe decreasing some kind of investment so you can preserve your margin to be financial sustainable, healthy financially. But it's very complex. I see many clients investing more, and then they think that right away let's give an example. I'm investing $1,000 and I'm making $10,000 in e-commerce store, because we've seen ROAS, which is return over advertisement investment, like that, like 10. So, okay, I'm investing $1,000 now, and then I'm getting 10,000. So I'm going to invest $10,000, expecting to make $100,000 right away. Sometimes it's not the case when we're talking about online sales, about advertising specifically. Sometimes you're going to handle a return of 8, 7 during 1 month or 2 in order to expand again and then reach 10, 12, 15. But businesses, that's the business. Your things oscillate because markets change. The market changes. Sometimes the client's behavior change. Sometimes a new competitor comes. So if it was all this, simple way, I'm investing more and I'm getting more, it should be so simple. It was, it just puts more money on Meta. You should just put more money on Google and then make more money. You have a money machine. But you have to look at all the variables.
You have a money machine?
Yeah, I wish I had.
Do have a question though. When you are approached with things like scaling and should I scale and how do I scale, when do you tell them they shouldn't scale and why?
That's a great question. I've seen this situation before. Actually, I have 1 or 2 examples of that. One of them being a client that sells products, and I was talking about that example of buying from China. He has a product that comes from China to Brazil, and it's one of the best-selling products he has. And by the time he stocked, that product specifically was out of stock, and he had another product line that was selling okay. Was not the best-selling products, and those products don't have the best price in the market and everything. But he wanted to scale. That was the time we had to make a decision. Yes, you want to scale, but we can't preserve the same margin with this kind of product because the market is showing us. He's working with us for 4 years. We have a large metrics about the seasonal periods of sales and product sales and everything. So we decided not to scale at that time until we received the products. That moment we have to make a decision, and that is the example. You have to make sure that you have enough logistic process to scale, because yes, we want to scale our margins, but usually your revenue will scale as well. If you're selling product, you have to make sure that you have the right process and that you can deliver the products you're selling. That's one case. Another case is one of our clients came to us and she sells online courses and she wanted to scale, but she didn't have all the budget necessary. She was counting on the sales she could possibly make, and then she would reinvest. So the plan was to go into the bank, get some money and invest and then make the purchase. That's an option. But knowing that client specifically, the moment she was leaving, the decision was not to do that. Was to extend the period she was actually investing less, saving that money, and then reinvest the money she made from those 3 months, and then scale. So sometimes you have to play around with the tools you have, with the money you're making, have some, more patience, and then can come back and then reinvest. Sometimes I have to tell our clients to save money and then scale, which works better.
Sounds like budgeting.
I'm not a fan of going to the bank.
I hear a great deal about digital marketing. It's a term that I think is talked about more than understood. If that is true, can you unpack that for me in simple terms so that a person knows what misconceptions to avoid?
Yes, I think it is. And I think that digital marketing is marketing. Marketing is marketing. Then digital is just the way you're making marketing. Because I think it's time that we choose talking more about marketing instead of digital marketing, because we're digital for how long now? 25 years. When we were moving from the old school to digital, that was okay. But now it's all about marketing. And yes, it can be misunderstood because digital marketing and marketing nowadays has so many different channels, different ways to work with marketing, that is it's a broad term. right? But for me, I want to look at marketing. I see part of the branding. I see paid traffic strategies. I see SEO. I see content. I see podcasts, all combined. That's all marketing. And your communication, your copywriting, partnership, influencers. It's so broad. Then it's hard to figure out what you're talking about. So I prefer being specific in my communications. When I talk about digital marketing, it's all about marketing. But yeah, I think that nowadays people tend to go more broad about this term than specifically talk about something.
It's interesting as we talked about, marketing's marketing, digital is just another avenue, and your company name, because there's a marketing twist in there. Why don't you tell us a story about your company name?
Yeah, that's very interesting. So when I started my company, it didn't have a name. It was my name. Sometime during 2022, I got this feeling thinking, I don't want my company to be called my name. I want it to have its own name. And then I remember struggling with that for a long time, many months. I was thinking about that and scratching names, and none of them was good enough for me because I wanted a short name or something people could remember and that could be related to what we do. And well, one Sunday afternoon, I was just scribbling and scratching, and drawing something on my notebook, and I wrote all the words that could be related to what we do. And one of them was profit, but in Portuguese was lucro. We say it. We pronounce lucro the same way we pronounce our name here of a brand name, but we spell it differently. In Portuguese is Lucro. Then I thought, well, it's profit. Yes, we work for profit because if our clients don't have profit with our operation, then what's the point? They should have profit. And so it's our mission to help them have profit using our digital marketing strategies, our paid traffic strategies. And then I thought, yes, that's a good name, but the same way you write in Portuguese, it's ugly. It's have no meaning. So I tried writing it with double O instead of U, Loocro. Then I thought, yeah, that looks pretty. I paid attention to the double O, which forms the infinite symbol. Then I thought, oh yeah, now we're talking about something very good here, because I get to tell that that's our mission, and it actually is, because we work to generate profit to our clients, but not just for one moment. We want them to have profit indefinitely, infinite profit. That's why we're here. So that's the thing that Kings that I really love about our name. We're after infinite profit for our clients, and profit for us is not just money. It's money, it's time, it's peace, is relationship. All that comes from having a strong margin for your business.
So you have, with that, talk about infinity. So we have margin-led growth and strategic-led growth. Can you unpack that for me? What is margin-led growth?
I'll give an example. Yesterday, I was talking to a business owner. He was telling me that he's happy if he makes an investment and break even, just having a break even. Like, I mean, he wants to invest $3,000 and make $3,000 in sales.
Seems strange.
And it seems strange, right? And I said, why, why would you do that? Because I asked him, what is your margin? It's 40%. All right, 40%. So in order to you really break even, you have to make $12,000, and then you'll have the profit to break even. So I'm telling you this to illustrate that sometimes some business owners don't have the idea that they actually have to have the net profit in mind before making investments. And we work with all our strategies with that in mind to make our campaigns to help them sell the amount of sales they have to have in order to have profit.
That's awesome. Where do you like to market? If there a geography you'd like to focus on? Is there a demographic you'd like to focus on? And if so, what's the ideal? How's the ideal client know to get a hold of you?
All right, that's a great question. Now we're in the process of going global. So we're talking more about Canada and United States markets. And we work with so many different niches because we have success in 15 different niches in our story with those more than 150 companies. Now we're talking about we're working with a lot of e-commerces, coaches, service-based businesses in general. And to be more specific, it's companies with monthly revenue between 30K to 500K, depends. But essentially, B2B services, e-commerces, that's the kind of companies we can help.
Do you have a podcast?
I've had once here in Brazil, and because of Bernie telling me that was really good. Essentially, the studio was very beautiful, and maybe I can think about resuming it, but if I do, it's probably going to be online, and I'll email you guys to be there so I can interview you.
Perfect. Do you also have a profit framework session you want to offer folks?
Yes. So this profit framework session is where, well, first let me tell you why is it this is a profit framework session. Most agencies, they offer an audit, and I was thinking deeply about that. As a business owner, do I want someone to audit my business just to tell me that I have more problems than I thought I had? And then I realized that no, the answer is no. I'm more inclined to give you solutions, and of course I will listen to you telling me that the problems you have if you want to. But usually what we do during this profit framework session is to understand your margin, your goal with revenue and margins, and what you're doing right now. So I'll understand your product and build this framework, what you have to do in order to achieve your goal for free. I'll just tell you what to do. I've always done that for our clients that came to work with us, and some of them that didn't, chose to different paths. So during this 30-minute conversation, we talk about your goals, your margins, your products, and then I build the framework. I deliver it to you as a PDF. You can implement yourself or choose to work with us, and then we have another conversation about that.
So if someone's going to reach you, how do they connect?
So they can go to lucro.com, but to have the profit framework session, they can go to lucro.com/claim your DFY. Then they'll just fill out a form, choose a time to talk to me directly, and then they'll receive an email with all the steps they have to me.
Perfect. Paulo, I want to say thank you so much. I appreciate your time today and sharing your journey from pharmaceuticals to getting the business and margins together. To my co-host, Wayne Pratt, thank you for being the co-host, and you, the Knack for Business listeners. It's really appreciated that you're taking an interest in this whole concept, and reach out to Paulo. He gives you clarity and control and confidence to scale without the chaos. So it's a matter of balancing things, and he'll help you balance that process through, growing those solid margins, because that's where the money's nesting once everything has been paid for.
Everything you heard today is for educational purposes only. It's not professional advice. Before you act on anything, talk to a certified expert in your area. Your accountant, your lawyer, someone who knows your situation. We share perspectives. You make the decisions. Want more? Head over to blog.knack4business.com, packed with practical episodes on AI, marketing, leadership, and growth. No fluff, just the good stuff. Subscribe while you're there. Until next time, keep building.